Hello students, welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado. I hope all of you are having a wonderful week. So in this particular lecture, we're going to continue covering the content in Chapter 18, which deals with activity-based costing. Okay, this is Accounting 2402, Principles of Managerial Accounting. So let's jump into the exercise. The exercise deals with multiple production department factory overhead rate method. Okay, so the problem reads, Handy Leather Incorporated produces 3 sizes of sports gloves, small, medium, and large. A glove pattern is first stenciled onto leather in the pattern department. The stenciled patterns are then sent to the cut and sew department where the glove is cut and sewed together. Handy Leather uses multiple production department factory overhead rate methods of allocating factory overhead cost. Its factory overhead costs were budgeted as follows. So, they budgeted factory overhead costs for the pattern department of $294,000, for the cut and sew department overhead $560,000. So the total factory overhead cost budgeted is $854,000. Now, the direct labor estimated for each production department was as follows. The pattern department, 42,000 direct labor hours. The cut and sew department, 56,000 direct labor hours, for total number of hours of 98,000 hours. Okay. Now, direct labor hours are used to allocate the production department overhead to the products. Okay, very important. Direct labor hours are used to allocate the production department overhead to the products. The direct labor hours per unit for each product for each production department was obtained from the engineering records as follows. So, it says the production department for the pattern department, we have the small glove, the medium glove, and the large glove. Okay, so in the pattern department, we spend 0.30 hours to generate a small glove, 0.20 hours for a medium glove, 0.45 hours for a large glove. In the cut and sew department, we have 0.40 hours for a small glove, 0.55 for a medium glove, and 0.70 for a large glove. So overall, the direct labor hours per unit to create or manufacture a small glove is 0.70 hours, 0.75 hours for a medium glove, and 1.15 hours for a large glove. We are being asked to determine the 2 production department factory overhead rates. Okay, we have to use the 2 production department factory overhead rates to determine the factory overhead per unit for each product. Okay, so let's first tackle letter A. Determine the 2 production department factory overhead rates. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So what I did is I created a little template. I've broken it down between the pattern department and the cut and sew department. Why? Because this is a multiple production department factory overhead rate method. So I need to keep track of my 2 departments separately. So I've got my pattern, my cut and sew department. Okay, I'm going to start off with obtaining my total factory overhead. How much do I have allocated for my pattern department and my cut and sew department for factory overhead? Well, according to the problem, they give us the breakdown right there. Okay, and it says that for the pattern department, we've allocated $294,000. Okay, for the cut and sew department, we allocated $560,000. Okay, this is my actual cost that is being budgeted, $294,560 for each of the departments. Now I'm going to divide that by my direct labor hours because it says that we're allocating based on direct labor hours. Okay, our allocation is based on direct labor hours. That is the instructions provided. Okay, so we have a total of 42,000 direct labor hours for the pattern department, 42,000 hours, and then we've got 56,000 hours for my cut and sew department. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to get my cost divided by my direct labor hours. The cost, your factory overhead cost divided by your direct labor hours. And that's going to give you your departmental overhead rate. So my overhead rate for the pattern department is $7 per direct labor hour. And for the cut and sew, we're going to get the 560 divided by the 56,000 hours. That's going to give me $10 per direct labor hour. So for every hour that it takes us to manufacture, whether it be a small, medium, or large glove, we're going to allocate $7 for the pattern department, $10 for the cut and sew department. So this is requirement A, okay, which was to determine the two production department factory overhead rates. These are my overhead rates: $7 for pattern, $10 for cut and sew. Okay. Now, requirement B, we have to use the two production department factory overhead rates to determine the factory overhead per unit for each product. Okay. So now we're going to break it down by product. We have the small glove, the medium glove, and the large glove. And I've created 3 separate sections. And we're going to figure out how much time is being invested for the pattern and the cut and sew department to be able to get our total factory overhead costs to be allocated to each of those products. Okay. So let's start with the pattern department, with the small glove, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to obtain the small glove information down here, the one in peach color. So it says that it takes us 0.30 hours in the pattern department, 0.40 hours in the cut and sew department. Okay, so we're going to get first the pattern department, that's 0.30, okay, direct labor hours. And I'm going to multiply, okay, my pattern department is $7, okay. Okay, and let's see what that gives us. So I'm getting the time it takes me to manufacture a small glove in the pattern department, which is 0.30, times my pattern department overhead rate of $7, which we calculated in requirement A. Okay, so it was 0.30 times 7. 0.30 times 7. That's $2.10. Okay. Now, in the cut and sew department, we take 0.40 direct labor hours. And I'm going to multiply that in my cut and sew department. That's $10 per direct labor hour. Okay. So let's see how much that gives us. That's 0.40 times 10. That's $4. Okay. So then that gives me, we're going to add together the pattern department and the cut and sew department to see how much it'll cost us right here. And then that gives me $6.10. So my total factory overhead per small glove is $6.10. So what does that mean? That for every small glove that I manufacture, I'm going to charge $6.10 for factory overhead, okay, associated with the manufacturing of the small glove. We're going to do the same thing for the medium and the large glove. The only thing that is going to change is going to be the time that it takes me to manufacture each of those items in the 2 different departments. So for example, for the medium glove, it takes me 0.20 direct labor hours. I'm going to multiply that by the $7. That does not change. $7 per direct labor hour. And I'm getting the $7 from letter A. Okay. That gives me 0.20 times 7. That gives me $1.40. Okay. Now for the cut and sew department, it takes me 0.55 direct labor hours. And I'm going to multiply it by my $10 per direct labor hour. And that gives me 0.55 times 10, $5.50. Okay. $5.50. So I'm going to allocate factory overhead for each medium glove of $6.90. So for every medium glove that I manufacture, I am going to allocate $6.90 for factory overhead. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for the large glove. Now for the large glove, it takes me 0.45 direct labor hours times my $7. The rate does not change. Okay, and let's see what that gives us. That's 0.45 times $7. That gives me $3.15. Okay, for the cut and sew department, it takes me 0.70 direct labor hours times my $10 per direct labor hour, and then that gives me $7. Okay, we add those 2 together. That gives me $10.15. Okay, so what we did here in requirement B is we used the two production department factory overhead rates, okay, which we had already calculated in requirement A, to determine the factory overhead per unit for each product. So for every small glove, I'm going to allocate $6.10 of factory overhead. For every medium glove that I manufacture, I'm going to allocate $6.90 of factory overhead. And for every large glove that I manufacture, I'm going to allocate $10.15 of factory overhead. And this is based on how long it takes me to manufacture each of those items in the two departments. Okay, the more time that you spend in the manufacturing process, the higher the cost. Okay, so this is a breakdown of how we computed the different product cost allocation for the small, medium, and large glove using the two department factory overhead rates, which were for the pattern and the cut and sew department. Okay, so and the driver here for our calculations was direct labor hours. It says direct labor hours are used to allocate the production department overhead for the products. Okay, so this is the setup that I did. I think it just makes it very simple to organize your data. You know, we for the first requirement, we split the information between the two departments. It's just your factory overhead, budgeted cost over the direct labor hours, and then that's going to give you your departmental overhead rate. Once you get those rates, then those are going to be flowing down into the different calculations that we have. Okay, so these go to the bottom. You know, the $7 is right there. We use the information in requirement A to be able to calculate requirement B. So we're just plugging in the departmental overhead rates, which we calculated in requirement 8, times the different, if we look over here, time the different times to produce each of the goods. Okay, so this is where we're getting the information from. Okay, so we're just copying the information from the problem regarding the time it takes to produce a small, medium, or large glove times our departmental overhead rate that we calculated. Okay, so that is basically it for exercise 18.5. If you have any questions as you're working your assignments, please don't hesitate to contact me Monday through Friday. I'm here to help you in whatever I can. Make sure that you include the problem number, your attempted solution, and your specific questions so I can provide guidance. Okay, so that is basically it. I leave you with the image of the completed problem. That way you can follow along, see where am I getting all of these numbers from, what am I doing, dividing, adding, subtracting, what is it that we're doing, so you can be able to complete your homework problem. Okay, so that is it. Until next time. Thank you.